So, good evening and welcome to the Town of Shelburne Development Review Board, the meeting of Wednesday, March 7th, 2018. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first order of business is always public comment. If there's someone here who would like to speak to something that is not on the agenda, now is the time. Not seeing any, but I would like to make a comment. I would like to congratulate Mary Kehoe on her election to the Select Board for a 3-year term, I believe, and thank her on the record for her service to the board for the last 4 years, I believe, and appreciate very much her leadership and guidance and advice through some pretty difficult situations at times. So.
Sure.
I think that's probably unanimous amongst our board members. So, okay. So, that being said, thank you, Mary. Best of luck. And the next item is to approve our minutes of February 21st, 2018. It was a pretty thick package this time around. Congratulations and thank you, Mary Ann, for getting through that. The only thing that I have, and probably for the record, I think Eves Bradley's name begins with a Y. Y-V-E-S. Is that true, David? Other than that, I had no other comments or edits regarding that application. Or that, this set of minutes. Anybody else have anything? Okay. So, would anybody like to consider making a motion to approve these minutes?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 21st, 2018 meeting as proposed.
Someone like to second that?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Approved. So, oh, Mary.
Mary.
You just missed a little thank you and tribute. You absolutely can. We can reopen if it's okay with everybody. We'll adjust the agenda to have a second public comment period.
Sorry about that. I got stuck down at Joe's office. So I just wanted to say goodbye to everybody. I'm very sad about leaving. Working with all of you has been so much fun and so gratifying. I never thought I'd say that. You know, the truth is, I never really had that much interest in zoning or anything.
We made it fun.
We changed that for you.
But I really enjoyed my experience. You're all stars, so I got you 5-star candy bars to go around. I want to make sure Mary Ann gets one. That's.
We're going to miss you, Mary.
I'm going to miss you guys.
We're gonna.
Probably the vast viewing audience.
Be careful out there.
Thank you, Mary.
And please,
Thank
I
you,
look
Mary.
forward to guidance from all of you going forward. Please don't hesitate to call me. I'm going to miss you tremendously, Kate.
Well,
But good luck with your studies. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary.
Bye, everybody.
thank you, Mary. Good luck. Thanks for coming by. Yeah. Okay. Swap?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do a little trading here. So, recusals. I've got to recuse myself from items 5 and 6 this evening. Do we have any intent on deliberating afterwards on anything other than those 2 applications? Any other things we have pending? Because I can certainly come. I can come back.
Is there anything for us to review from last session?
Well, there's been some emails flying around on 2 different.
Okay.
You may want to take a look at those, both the library as well as Shelburne Green.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Might want to. There's been some good commentary there. So, at any rate, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is an application by Michael and Rosemary Dubois, 622 Falls Road. This is application DR 18-02. The applicant is seeking design review approval for new fencing. It looks like a pretty straightforward thing. I believe we have a recommendation from HP and DRC. So do you have anything you'd like to put there? Do we have someone here to speak to this application? How are you this evening? Good. Would you like to tell us about what you're doing here? It's pretty straightforward. Or, I mean, if you do, I need to swear you in. So if you could use the microphone for our vast viewing audience and raise your right hand. And do you hereby swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Sure do. I
Very
do.
well.
So we built a home on 622 Falls Road last summer, and I have two small dogs that I have to walk to take them out, and we decided we wanted to fence in our yard. There's a drawing there of the site plan showing the perimeter of the fence. Like you said, pretty straightforward. Can't do invisible fencing for these type of dogs because they don't recommend it, so
Okay.
it's just a black aluminum 4-foot high fence.
Yep. Looks pretty straightforward.
How close to the street is it? Where is the street?
It's behind the house. It doesn't come anywhere near the street.
It's on the
Okay.
back side, right?
It's on the, in the backyard.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions of the applicant? All right. I have a question. Do you work for Green Mountain Power?
I did. I retired.
Okay.
But yes, I-
recognize your name and your voice. I've spoken with you on the phone.
Yeah. Yes, we have.
All right. Good. Well, I would then make a motion to grant approval for this application, DR 1802, for a 4-foot fence at 622 Falls Road, with one condition that a zoning permit should be issued prior to the installation of the fence.
Second.
Seconded? Ian, you want to take that one? You haven't been around for a while, so we'll put you, okay. We had a double hit there, so, seconded, all those in favor? Okay, anybody
Okay.
opposed? Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
So, then next we will take up application SP 17-04R1, which is an application by Civil Engineering Associates on behalf of Rice Lumber Company. They're seeking a site plan amendment on the property at 4188 Shelburne Road, which is located in the mixed-use district and the stormwater overlay district. And we have somebody here to go over this with us again. I have to get my wording right this time. Raise your right hand, please. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the evidence that you will give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. And sorry, state your name.
I'm Dave Marshall from Civil Engineering Associates.
Okay. So maybe you can give us an overview of what amendments that you're looking at.
Very good. So this particular project, Rice Lumber, is looking to relocate its current operations to the southern portion of its property. This particular application has had already a number of approvals or reapprovals by the board in the past, and timing-wise, they're finally now getting started with construction. We have both Jim Carroll and David Carroll here to answer any other questions with regard to the application. But this one was intended to be fairly simple with regard to two things. One, as part of the value engineering on the project, we were actually able to find a way to lower the site by about 2 feet from what it was originally approved as. So anything we could do, I don't know if you're familiar, you've probably driven by it a number of times in regards to where we are today in construction, but anything we could do to basically lower the site and bring the top of the building down below the backdrop of the existing vegetation was only going to be a beneficial thing. So this application we wanted to basically bring before you and update the file, basically to identify the fact that the grading for the site had been dropped about 2 feet to accommodate that particular item. The second was an update of the lighting plan. And that was primarily intended to take advantage of the improvements in technology that has occurred since the original light design was done about 5 years ago. So that was originally the intent. Kate did a good job of beating me up in regards to other items that are within the zoning bylaw in regards to lighting plans. Again, that's my fault for not resubmitting that information, but keep in mind there had already been 2 previous approvals with a lighting design and how the light would be managed on the site. So that's my fault for not basically bringing everything up to speed there. With that being the background, we do have a plan on how to manage the lighting on this particular property. This particular plan are part of the submittal components that came with the application package to you. And this is from our lighting design consultant, Donna Liebman from Lightspace Design, in which she utilizes her modeling to identify what the lighting will look like under nighttime conditions. You know, what we all are used to looking at is this particular plan, which is a ISO foot candle with various spot information of the foot candle levels, and you look at it and you go blind just going, the information's there, but nonetheless, the one I just showed you previously is very much more helpful in regards to understanding the characteristics. But again, this particular plan was also part of your package, and it identifies specifically the light pole locations and the intensity of the lighting at the various locations. But with regard to allowing, you know, the layperson to more readily understand the characteristics of how this will actually look on the ground or from the air. These particular plans that were submitted help identify not only the character or where the lights are actually located, but again, what the intensity levels will be on the ground. In this particular case, again, the update was intended to basically take advantage of the vast improvements in LED lighting relative to both the efficiencies in the energy, but also the distribution. So again, that was the original intent. Now, with regard to answering some of the questions of the staff report, we do have answers on how the lighting would be managed as part of this particular project. This is something you don't have. It was originally intended to be a narrative that would basically fulfill the record, but we're happy to provide supplemental information. Now, this is very bright. You're going to have to allow your eyes to adjust what's going on here. But to orient you, north is this way on the plan. And when we're looking at this particular plan here, again, north is also to the right. This is the main driveway coming up from Route 7 and ultimately into the site that basically has 3 buildings. It has the drive-through building, it has the warehouse building, and has the retail building. And with that, this particular plan, again, is still oriented in the same direction where north is up, and this is the driveway that comes in to the drive-through building. Not highlighted is the warehouse building out behind here and the retail building. So one of the questions was how is the lighting submittals that were made to the board talked about lights that would basically come on automatically. And this set of lights coming up the driveway are designed to basically come on at dusk and basically stay on for 3 hours and then get knocked back to 40% of the normal design value. So when we're always talking about commercial properties, we want to basically make sure that we're not overlighting them at 2 in the morning. So this particular program goes in that particular direction. That's just the first of 4 different entities or components of this particular management of the site. But in this particular case, the reason we actually have this on more than the 1 hour, that's a standard component within the zoning bylaw, is it says, okay, Dave Marshall, when this particular design is done, we need to make sure that the lights go off 1 hour after your business is done. And that the intention is, again, not that we're not lighting up the world unnecessarily. So, but this particular driveway happens to also serve some residential buildings. And on this particular plan, this overall plan, it also shows on the one behind us, this one just happens to have some color, where this particular driveway, which is, again, that component that we just shown in yellow, also services the residential homes. So we wanted to basically have that lit up for safety purposes, at least long enough for people to get home up to about 11 o'clock at night or so. So that was, that's one of the reasons why that particular set of lights for safety purposes is on a little bit longer. The other component that the zoning bylaw talks about is security, and making sure both that beyond just safety in the operations of the buildings, that that we do have some security lighting. So the green blob, that's around what we call the retail building, is designed to basically come on 1 hour before standard operations and turn off 1 hour after standard operations. So right now, normal operating hours close at 4:30, so the lights would be off at 5:30. So for the winter hours, that's when you'd see the lights on, but they would go off at 5:30. Same condition for the blue highlighted area on this particular plan, where normal operations that occur between the drive-through building and the warehouse building would be lit up up until 1 hour after normal operating hours. However, one additional component here is that these also have the ability to be activated by motion. So if we have somebody back here that has worked its way through the security measures, as far as the gate that happens to be at this particular location, and we want to basically make sure that they understand that they can't do what they want to do in the dark. So there is motion detection. So the only time that goes on is if there's somebody doing something in the back of the building after hours that's not by design. And then the third component is the security lighting, where we basically have these particular areas on in a slightly different manner. I'm going to have to read my narrative to basically, or Donna's narrative, I apologize, to basically complete the discussion, where these lights will be programmed to turn off an hour after business close at 4:30. They will be mainly operate in the late fall through early spring, if need be, and at all nighttime hours. Sorry, now I can't read this. Okay, and if needed, security at all nighttime hours. So this is the section that we would be looking to basically maintain for security purposes in regards to the proposed lighting management for the site. Now, other things that are not part of the record, but, well, let me take a step back. One thing that we recognized as as the project went forward is that we wanted to basically make sure that the landscaping package, you don't have a landscaping package, but this is just information for a future application that'll be coming before you, is that we wanted to basically revise this to better create screening from Route 7 up into the site. Right now, this is the approved plan that we have before you, but nonetheless, there is the intent in the near future to basically come back before the board with an updated lighting plan that does a couple of things as far as taking advantage of grades and high points of the property to basically maximize the screening of the building from Route 7. But the reason I mentioned that is that we also have a couple of elevations that are not part of today's application, but we wanted to at least give you a flavor of what the lighting will be lighting. In this particular case, we talked about the retail building. This is on the north side. This is that location right there, and that's generally what that is looking like today. And we also have the entry into the drive-through building. This is the larger of the two structures where you actually drive through and come back out, and you're basically picking up your product in a protected environment. This is the entry feature of that particular area. And the reason we're proud of these is they're a big improvement over what the board had seen in its earlier versions of these applications that had been approved. And out of all that, we wanted to at least introduce these as part of the future application, but just planting the seed in that regard. So with regard to lighting, I think now might be a good time to have Kate chime in on things that she feels still need to be addressed in order for her to carry the day and for the board to carry the day as far as some findings on this particular application.
You say we don't have a lighting plan? Or we don't?
You have a lighting plan, but you don't have a light management plan.
Okay.
Can you, on the isometric, can you show us where the pink area, the pink lighting area is? Because that was, I wanted to understand how that was associated with security in relation to the buildings.
So maybe we'll have Jim or Dave become
That's the, yeah. Do you have the front view?
under oath.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, from the east.
So that's the back side.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is to orient you. This is coming up the driveway. So this would be the side facing Route 7. Security fence across this particular area. This was the back area we talked about being motion detected. This particular entry road coming up was going to be the one that basically comes on at dusk, stays on for 3 hours, and then gets knocked back to 40% of normal. And then we have the operation around the buildings. Both of these particular buildings as being lighting for the activity areas or the activities specifically around the buildings up to 1 hour after normal business hours of 4:30. And then we had, which is what Jeff was asking about, it's like, Dave, please tell us a little bit about the two security areas. And that's this area here, as well as this area out behind the retail building.
And those are facilitated through light posts that are along the eastern edge of the parking lot?
Yep, they are located along the edge of the pavement here.
And the two spotlights shining on in the middle there, that's...
Well, this is where the modeling is slightly deficient as far as showing the island, the grass island. That basically is located right through here. You can see it very barely on this particular plan at that scale. We can see it better on this particular plan, where we basically have sited these in such a way to minimize conflict with the trees.
And those are facilitated through light posts again, correct?
Yes.
Great.
That is correct.
Thank you. That's a great way of showing a lighting plan.
It's we're very happy with Donna as far as the work that she does, and these are the type of products that make it very easy for
sure
everybody to better understand what the characteristics of the lights are going to be.
Other questions on the board? Anything else on the lighting?
Okay, so just to be clear, there's nothing in the site that's staying on all night? There's just motion detectors that go on? Or is that?
Can we put either David or Jim under oath, and we'll have them clarify how they would like to operate this area?
I'm seeing it as you guys are, so.
Well, Jim, you met with Donna and had some discussions in regards to the operations of the area. But to answer the question, the intent is that this particular section would operate full-time, but knock back to 40% after 3 hours.
drop.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So really, Kate's question is, well, what else is going to be on full-time? And that's the pink area. That would be this particular security side here. So we'll describe that for narrative-wise as being on the east side of the drive-through building and also on the west side of the retail building.
Okay. So those are
All the time. you're
all
saying.
the time and not all the time, but only by motion.
No, all the time.
All the
They're
time for those
100%
two
on
areas.
all the time.
Yep, the two pink areas. Let me go back and find the plan.
In between the two buildings or motion.
Right.
Yep. So I'm going to move this on one more time, just so that this plan, this street is running, Route 7 is running in the same direction. So north is this particular direction. We come up the driveway, and these are the light actuated or lack of light actuated components. This back area is going to be the area that just runs with hours of operation +1, except that there is motion detection. And then this green area is going to be just with business +1. And then the two pink areas would be the security lighting that basically would stay on full time.
So security lighting is allowed to stay on past that 1 hour past close of business. And if Dave enters in that narrative, or if you choose to enter in that narrative that Dave had, that will meet the requirement to have a narrative for security lighting and the purpose of it. So I don't think that is an issue, but if you have concerns about screening and light pollution.
Do you think it is an issue?
No.
Okay.
When you say enter into the narrative, what do you mean?
Enter.
It's not written out for us.
So,
Right, so anything that you
the
don't have-
record that was supplied to the board in written form did not talk to this level of detail, but the public record tonight allows us to fill in some blanks, provided that the board is comfortable with the information that's being received.
So when the motion sensor lights come on, how long do they stay on?
At this point in time, I think that's variable.
Okay.
It could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour, and
And what kind of lights are they? Are they the existing lights that are there, or are they
yes.
different? Okay, so they're
No,
not
nope, just the same lights.
dedicated
that-
spotlights, okay.
Correct.
And when you say variable, is that variable by virtue of the type of light you choose, or is it controllable and changeable?
Controllable,
Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
they have invested in control panels that provide variable periods. So whatever conditions or whatever operating approaches are programmable.
So there is a restriction on motion detectors, and it's a 10-minute interval, which makes sense because if something,
Could be an
if
animal.
a squirrel, or like a raccoon or something goes across, you don't want it on for an hour. There are residential properties, not really close, but in the area. So you can make that a condition of approval, that all motion detected
So
lighting.
10 minutes is in the bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it 10 minutes is not regulated? If it's 10 minutes or less, then it doesn't have to be a discussion point?
So if it's less than 10 minutes, it's of no consequence, but lighting controlled by motion detector or infrared sensors with a one-time,
On time.
with an on time of no more than 10 minutes per activation. Oh, is exempt from that's exempt from the hours of operation, so they can technically be on all the time, but as long as they're in 10-minute spurts.
So I think we'd be comfortable with a 30-minute time period. What we want to do is make sure that if we have a police response, that the lights are still on as they come up the hill to basically investigate whatever may have turned them on.
I mean, my interpretation of what this says is that you can't have 30 minutes, it has to be 10.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying too.
Okay, if that's what you're reading, then
So then when the
Then
police
that's what-
arrive, they'll just have to stand there and keep moving
Get there faster.
to keep the lights on.
very good.
Okay, and I think other than that, I think everything else is
Everything else is good?
good. In terms of lighting, I don't know if you had
Okay.
any other questions.
Yeah. You mentioned your landscaping
Future application.
future.
We're just planting the seeds of when people drive by and they say, what's happening there? Well, there is an approved plan, but we're going to be coming back with what we'd like to be is an even better plan.
So if there's an approved plan at the moment, but it's expired, is that where we're at?
No, it's not expired.
Okay. I just, then I'm envisioning that if the landscaping plan is still out there, but that's not part of what we're considering. I don't understand
So
what you're
it's
saying
a-
about.
I'm sorry.
Well, you're saying that you have a plan.
Yes.
You're going
It's an
to
existing plan
update
that's
it.
approved. It's not outdated, but they want to modify it and enhance it. But they're not quite ready to do that yet, so.
So that wasn't part of this application, but it's an intended future application.
Okay.
I have a question for Kate.
Okay.
Under section 1975.2, staff comments is a fairly detailed criteria that has to be met as far as language that I can't understand, but are you
No.
satisfied that this application meets
I
those
did.
specifications?
Speak with
Donna Lieben.
Donna, and she was much more knowledgeable than a lot of people I would imagine. So yeah, I think we went over all these
All right.
and seemed satisfied.
and
But
you-
if we want to do a condition of approval that says, section 1975.2, a lighting expert provides documentation that's met, that might not be a bad idea because this is in the weeds of lighting.
And this also doesn't have anything about what the hours of operation are, is that accurate? Other than the
Well, of what-
hours of operation plus one, or?
Right.
Right.
So could that be a condition that we have that information?
The hours of operation. Yeah.
The out for 1975, 5A, that we have the hours of operation.
We want to give them flexibility, though. We don't want to nail it down here, because we need to give them rules to allow them to be flexible based on business needs.
I mean, we're happy to identify what the current hours of operation are, which is 6:30 in the morning to 4:30 p.m. So that gives you a flavor of, they're up early, getting ready for all the contractors coming in and looking for their products.
Okay.
We can still add it in. And they'll just provide what their current hours are, and if they change, the bylaws allow it to flex with their change in operation. It's,
they don't have to come back here. That's good. Okay. Yeah, please.
oh, okay, so maybe we want to identify hours of operation summer and winter. Okay.
Okay. All right. I don't know if I'm ready to make any sort of motion yet. Have we considered everything that we're supposed to have considered? There's
There were other minor amendments to like
the location of the
stormwater.
drainage swale, revisions to the footprints for the buildings on lots 1 and 2. It says in I'm looking at your letter.
Did I mess that up?
14.
Footprints and elevations.
So,
Elevation is under point number 1.
yes. So as far as elevations, late in the application process, we got one of the buildings to Kate, but not the other building. Hence, at least a flavor of the character of the elevation of the buildings. As far as footprints, basically we're talking about 5 feet one way or the other on a building that's 250 feet long. So as far as being able to understand the difference, they really are extremely minor in regards to updates of the site plan.
Okay,
All of their building coverage requirements and lot coverage requirements are still fine. The change in the building footprint hasn't put them out of conformance.
okay. Is that, because I saw there was a note about it not being greater than, the maximum individual building footprint is 30,000 square feet, and this has one that's 46,000, but that's been
That's,
Yeah.
That's
part of the
the,
prior approval.
yes, that's the special rice lumber rule that's in the zoning bylaw.
it's not a special rice lumber rule, but it is a caveat.
Okay.
Guys covered everything?
Revised glazing.
I didn't have any comments about that. There wasn't a substantial change.
Just checking.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
When we mentioned in the cover letter that we had tweaked the grading, it was primarily just to blend the stormwater drainage design into the 2-foot modification.
Okay, got it.
Everybody's happy?
Yep. I think we just talked about the only addition is the light plan certification by a lighting professional.
Okay.
Let's see.
Would you like to make the motion then?
Sure. Well, you want to,
A public
Oh, sorry. Is anybody here that would like to make a comment? Or give any other information? On anything that we
Anything,
could just,
With
Yeah.
this one,
with,
with this
Yeah.
application.
Make sure you introduce
yeah,
Yeah, I do.
okay. So wait, okay, you got a microphone, so raise your right hand, what's your name?
Yeah, I do. Harold Hose.
Okay, I know you can, I'm doing it by the book this time. So do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you, or comment that you're about to give in the cause under consideration shall be the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to hear about the lighting because we didn't know about that because it faces our house. But it's good to hear that they're going to do some more with the landscaping on the east side because we see a lot more building than we thought we were going to. And great that it's lower down an extra 2 feet. So we're happy with what they're doing.
Headed in the right direction. One of the conditions of approval, just for the record, is that all the landscaping be in place before they occupy the buildings. So it's incumbent upon us to get a plan before you that can be approved so that the material can be ordered and can be placed before occupation.
Okay. Can I get Jeff to make the motion now?
make a motion to finalize the record.
I'll second that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
So that motion is carried.
All right, make a motion to indicate approval, the site plan as identified with the condition that the light plan certification be given by a lighting professional. And all previous conditions for approval still apply.
And you included a motion to close the hearing with indication of approval. That's what you said?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right,
That's what
yep.
I meant to say.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say, as written.
I will second that motion as well, I think. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No. Motion's carried, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, but you can't get rid of us that easy.
No, because you're going to tell us about the next one as well. All right, so the next matter under consideration is application SUB 15-05R1, which is an application by Civil Engineering Associates, Inc. on behalf of Rice Lumber Company, seeking a final plan amendment. The proposal includes an extension of the PUD approval and a revision to the approved phasing on the property at 4188 Shelburne Road, which is located in the mixed-use district and the stormwater overlay district. And there's somebody here who's going to tell us about this application.
Yes, Dave Marshall from Civil Engineering Associates. Kate, is there anything you want to introduce in regards to the zoning bylaws and what is basically embedded in there as far as the standard?
Yep, so Rice Lumber was approved as a mixed-use PUD. All PUDs have an expiration date of 2 years, which is pretty quick if you don't have a developer working to develop all the lots at once. So basically they're coming in under the sections that are listed in the staff report to request basically a construction timeline and a build out for the entire project. So that in 2 years they don't have an expired project and have to go through the entire subdivision approval again. And so this is their total build out, and I think it spans 10 years.
Fairly close to that. So we have a number of different components associated with the project. We have what we call phase one, which is the initial consolidation and relocation of the Rice Lumber operations from the north side of the site into the south end. There is a requirement that all of the existing buildings be removed within 12 months of occupation of the south end of the site. And what that will do is then allow for the remaining, or at least 2 of the 4 commercially zoned sites to become available for other parties to put applications in before the board and to potentially be developed. And as all commercial properties along Route 7, some of them are very popular and some of them aren't so popular. So what we wanted to do is, rather than coming back every 1.9 years to you and seeking another 2-year approval, is to kind of put together a master planned concept in regards to the time frame that the planned unit development remains viable. And the bank would very much like that, because they don't like thinking that they might have to take over a project that isn't going to be able to be sold 2 years from now. So they want some level of comfort that a master planned project, such as this particular project, does have a life to it. So again, we're looking for something longer than the standard 2 years. And I understand that this has been a challenge for some other planned unit development projects. And in this particular case, we've put together a best guess as far as how the development of the property would occur over time. And without trying to extend something out 15 or 20 years, we're just looking to provide our best guess information to you to justify the request as far as the time extension. So that's the background. Shelburne doesn't quite have a kind of a master plan approval. Some other communities in Chittenden County allow for master plan approvals, and that basically enables the rights to be much longer, but we don't have that tool here. And this is the next best tool for us to basically have a discussion on what is an appropriate time frame to allow the planned unit development approval to remain valid.
Okay, what have we done with other PUDs in the town over the years?
I'm not sure exactly. I haven't been here for a lot of the approvals, but there's been plenty. I mean, it kind of depends too. So if you can show that you've made progress on it, like you're 50% complete, well, then you can get an extension just administratively. So, and I guess it all depends on how that particular PUD was approved, but how Rice Lumber was approved, there was no kind of phasing construction build out plan. It was all just kind of laid out there.
Yeah.
And so it went to default 2 years.
Yeah. It makes sense that it's done in phases. It would make sense that the town should somehow be able to accommodate that and work with that. At the same time, we have to be protected where if we see nothing happens and things are stalled for 3 or 4 years, the town should be able to call a timeout and say what's going on to some extent. But we don't want to put an undue burden on the applicant with coming in every 2 years to rehash everything and re-educate.
Right.
who's ever on the board. At least that's my opinion.
Would there be some type of administrative check-in or to make sure that things are progressing so that you don't have a stalled out thing?
I mean, tools that are available, kind of embedded in the zoning bylaws already, is that if you have a property that has discontinued its use, but you continue to advertise it for sale, then even though you're not occupying the building, you at least preserve the ability to maintain or preserve that use. I think, you know, what I'm trying to do is build upon how can we provide a report, you know, annual report perhaps to staff that basically says, okay, this is the activity level that we're seeing, or this is what we're doing to basically promote, you know, the completion of the project as approved by the board. Obviously, I think, you know, the family is very interested in making sure that things move as quickly as possible. But that being the background, we don't always control those economic conditions either.
Sure.
I mean, one thing that's embedded in their PUD approval is that they have to come back for final approval for lots 3, 4, and 5.
Well, all of the commercial lots are required to come back before the board for basically a site plan approval.
Right.
Within the conditions that are already encumbered the planned unit development. So you will be experiencing that particular process. But at the same time, for example, if these lots weren't being actively marketed, you'd say, hey, what's going on? So I think that's the type of thing that we're comfortable providing staff as far as, you know, just updates on the activity level, or at least what the applicant's trying to do to move the project along.
Okay, would you feel comfortable with that notion that there be an annual submission to your office giving you an update of progress or lack of progress? Do you think that would be sufficient to trigger your institutional memory that we got to check up and see how things are going here?
There wouldn't really be anything that anyone could do about it. It'd be like just a progress report. So my thought was just those commercial lots that, based on this timeline, they're hitting that, you know, at a phase or a certain like year that they need to come in for the commercial, or this needs to be reevaluated.
I mean, that would seem to make more sense to time it out instead of, you know, kind of a regular annual thing, just based on the phases, you know, as identified by you all in this project.
That's fair.
So I'll just come up with some language, just kind of meeting the milestone of, let's say in 3 years, they'll be in for a site plan approval for the commercial lots. And if not, this will have expired and they'll have to come back in and rework it. And someone else, maybe it will be you guys, will decide if you'll reapprove another phase out plan. Does that make sense?
Sure, does it make sense to you?
I think the bank might be scared a little bit about the word expire, but I think if we can work around that, then we're headed in the right direction.
Okay, so I'm not sure that I actually followed what you said was going to. So we're going to have a condition of our approval of this request that says.
So like phase 3, let's say, just looking at this quickly. So condition of approval by 2021, applicant shall file site plan application for commercial lots, whichever ones they are.
Or amend the phasing plan, or put in an application before the board to amend the phasing plan.
Yeah.
And then it's up to the board to say, Dave, I think you're blowing smoke, or yeah, we had a tough year economically and we understand why things are not moving along as quickly as we had anticipated.
Is your suggestion is leave the phasing plan as set out in your letter proposal? And then if you're not sticking to it, you're going to write and explain why? Or
We have to provide an amendment application to update the phasing plan.
As a condition of you approving this phasing plan, by 2021, they have to come in either with an amended phasing plan or with a site plan application to develop the commercial lots. Make sure they're sticking on track. Otherwise, it's not really enforceable. It'd be like a check-in that I could do nothing about.
Right. Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. So is everybody happy with that? If I can,
What happens with phase 5? That's the homes. Does that just stay open indefinitely?
It's a good question.
does look like it, actually.
Phase 5. Okay, I can understand phases 2, 3, and 4. We've got timelines identified for that, which is great.
Should we put another thing in 2025? You know, similar to the 2021?
Jeff, I think the only, I'm sorry to be rude. I think the only reason we chose not to put a timeline on the residential lots is, for example, within staff report, it talks about that if you do a straight subdivision,
Yeah,
put your Mylar in the land records.
you're done.
Forever.
Gotcha. I see where you're. Yeah, yeah. I just thought of that when you're.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That works.
All right, so we're okay with leaving that open?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, if this were a PUD that basically had specific features that looked more like a consolidated development that required interaction between units, then I would say we probably need to have that discussion as far as how to basically make sure that all of the aspects and features of the planned unit development come together in a timely manner. These really kind of scream traditional single-family home lots.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Other questions, comments? Any questions, comments from members of the public? No? The public? No? Okay, so then I will try and, so I have to start with making a motion to finalize the record.
So
Or not.
before we do that,
Oh,
so
sorry, I
what's
thought
our
we were done.
what's our consensus that we want to do? We want to have a timeline approval based upon what's been proposed here.
Yeah,
Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
I think so,
Okay.
with the condition that, well, then how to word, I've written by 2021, so does that mean
So applicant shall submit amended phasing plan
by the end of 20?
or site plan application
Yeah.
for commercial lots by 2021?
And what does by 2021 mean? Does that mean the end of 2020?
Yeah, December 31st.
December 31st,
The end of the year.
2020?
End of the year.
Calendar.
Yeah,
End of the calendar year.
okay, so I'll put that in December, okay, December 31st.
Whatever the date is,
22.
last day of the year. That you're open.
2020 or 2021?
21.
Okay.
21.
21,
And then for phase 4, it's 2025.
Do you want
It would
that?
be the same condition, but for
Yeah.
phase 4 with a
Right.
later date.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
It's okay, you think you can work language for that?
Yeah.
Sweet, okay.
Because there's commercial lots 4 and 5, and then there's the commercial lots 3 and 4.
Right, okay,
Technically 4.
so we're doing phase 3 and then phase 4, so it will be basically the same wording with different years.
Yeah, exactly.
4, 5, and 6, and 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so do I first make a motion to move to finalize the record?
I'll second that.
And then I'll make a motion to direct staff to prepare a decision to indicate approval of the final plat application amendment SUB 15-05 with the conditions, I think that we,
Approval, a PUD expiration timeline be established.
right, as we have just
Discussed, yeah.
discussed on the
Yep.
record.
Second.
Thank you. Then I'll move to close the hearing,
We have to vote on it.
or do we have to, oh, sorry. In fact, we didn't vote on the motion to finalize the record either, did
We
we?
didn't. Let's do a double vote.
Let's do both of those motions at the same time, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Then I'll make a motion to close the hearing on subdivision application SUB 15-05 R1. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Good.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We get there eventually. Do we,
We're done?
is there any other business or
Business.
correspondence?
No.
So we're getting, I guess, the look for another full-time DUB member now that Mary's gone?
Or closing the
Are
meeting.
so do we have to close the meeting and then are we wanting to deliberate?
I don't know if we need to deliberate anything.
No, I meant what Mark was talking about earlier was,
Oh, you're already in
No, we're
deliberative
done.
session.
We're good.
so then I will make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.